The sun don't shine without you. I'm a begin, isn't it? I get a little bit bigger than that. I'll admit I'm just the same as I was.
Right, 7 minutes are gone after 7 a.m. Central African time. And good morning. It is a Sunday in Africa. Thanks to
And
Jamie.
it's 7 minutes past 9 p.m. on Saturday night here in Seattle.
Is it? Eh?
Hey.
Oh, okay. Awesome. I mean, I was saying earlier on that literally I haven't slept since Saturday. And here we are. Awesome stuff. How you doing?
Good, Wildfire. How are you, Stanley? I miss you.
I miss you too, eh? When are you visiting Africa again? I mean, last time you came here, we didn't hang out, you know? What kind of friendship is this?
Because you're always in the studio. I came in to see you. You were busy.
Yeah, you can say that again, eh? But you owe me a drink.
I owe you a lot.
Otherwise, I was Seattle this morning or this
It's
evening.
rains all the time. It's cold and dark. I miss Joburg in Africa.
Come back. Come back to the motherland.
I'm coming back. This is the plan.
Yeah, I mean, look. Ghana is welcoming. What do you call it?
The year of the
from the kids from the motherland, you know. So we're like, no, come back home. If Donald Trump is giving you problems, come back. If the weather is giving you problems, come back. If you miss the sunshine, come back. You know, all those things.
I want land. Give me land. I'll come back in a hurry.
Awesome stuff. Right, so yeah, here we are. I think this is a pilot broadcast, and we definitely gonna be having an awesome time. The Africa Travel Show. With Debbie Peters. All right. We're also simulcasting with Channel A TV in Seattle. All right. And the 1873 FM. So if you are viewing and watching us from the United States of America, we welcome you to this exciting show that will bring a lot in terms of showcasing what Africa has to offer and the opportunities that are there. And given that it is the year of the return, right, that's being promoted by a whole lot of African countries, for that matter. I mean, you look at a lot of celebrities from the US of A that are actually being given citizenship in Africa. Ludacris is the latest one. Actually got a citizenship. Was it in Guinea?
I think Gabon. His wife.
Oh, Gabon. Yes, Gabon. Yes, in Gabon.
And they have oil.
Awesome. Yeah. I think I also need a year of return. I need a citizenship in the United States. Eh? Like, yeah.
I'll get that for you.
Yeah. Yeah, I need citizenship back in the States as well. All right. So Debbie, over to you. I think you the superstar of the show. Maybe you can get to introduce us to the show.
So I love travel and I love Africa. As you all know, I'm from Zimbabwe, but I've lived in South Africa and I still have a home there. I've lived in Nigeria. I worked all over Africa, in Ghana, in Nairobi. I've done conferences as far north as Egypt and Morocco. Eventually, I became a blogger, as you know, and I wrote about this in my book, A Modern African Nomad. Since I moved to Seattle last year in April, it's going to be coming up to a year in 3 months. And the more I think about it, like I still have one foot in Africa, one foot in the US. I was trying to marry all my interests, my experience, and my background to come up with a business and something that I'm passionate about. And I do love to bring people to Africa. So some of my friends who are here in the US, they're all doing their DNA test and they're being told they're a quarter Nigerian, a quarter Senegalese. And a lot of people are going back to Africa to find their roots. But it's very difficult in America to get information. People are trying to figure out, how do we go to Africa? And there's huge groups, sometimes family groups, who do their reunions, and they're doing them in the US. And now that they figured out where the origins are from, they would like to do a family reunion of, say, 50 people in Africa. It's hard to book travel for 50 people. So I've come up with a travel agency for groups focusing on vacations, safaris, and all the key destinations in Africa. So my travel agency will be an Africa destination specialist, and we'll be bringing people together on those kind of trips. I have partnerships with companies. I used to do hotel finance. When I worked in Lagos, I was there for 2 years as a fund manager doing hotel finance. And some of the hotels I worked on now are being finished. There's a hotel in Accra that's just being finished now that I worked on the financing for. And they were actually in a hurry trying to get it ready by the end of the year, December, because the big crowd that came into Ghana for the year of the return, they're hoping to get that business. So I know a lot of hotel owners, hotel brands. I've got the relationships and also the local knowledge. I know, like, if I'm sending a group to South Africa, they must go to Eshisanyama, for instance, and nobody knows what Eshisanyama is unless you're from there. So it's that little bit of local knowledge that's important.
Right, awesome. I think this is a really exciting initiative that you have come up with. We've got Zita Toperesu says, United States of Africa, indeed, we want to get rid of the borders that were created by colonialism. So I guess, Debbie, you are taking charge to make sure that you break these barriers between, you're actually building bridges between Africa and the United States in terms of showcasing what Africa has to offer.
Yeah, that's really important. I think Kenya has done away with the need for visas within Africa, and Rwanda is coming up with a removal of visa policy. So our other challenges within Africa itself, we need to come up with policies that will make it easier for tourism. You're from Victoria Falls, and Davis over here is from Zambia, and we've been fighting.
Oh, really? Is it?
Yes, and we've been fighting over the ownership of the Victoria Falls in recent years.
Don't start a fight, man. It's too early for him.
No,
but I mean, Davis, we've got the better view of the Victoria Falls.
Well, the view about ownership. So I think the issue was the ownership.
We own Victoria Falls.
Okay.
All right, I'll let her have it this time around. You know, it's,
is it?
You know,
I was thinking we can let our armies have a friendly match.
Right. Starts just like this. But it's good to see you, and it's good to hear your voice. And you guys are talking about a very important topic. And good morning to everybody in Joburg. And greetings from Seattle. And thank you guys for doing this. I'll listen in and enjoy my topic here with Debbie and you, my brother over there. You look good. And for those of you that cannot see this man, he didn't sleep. But it looks like he just woke up, So I think that's the motherland in you, Here in America, man, we work too hard. So if you don't sleep for the whole night, it shows. But anyway, carry on. Go back to. We don't want to deter people from what you guys were talking about, because that's a very important portion of of what we are going through as a continent and even as a country here in the United States. So I appreciate you for taking that.
No, thank you so much, Davis. Yeah.
Speaking of the Victoria Falls, over the last Christmas holidays, a picture came out on social media of Michael Douglas and Catherine Zeta-Jones and their two kids at the Victoria Falls, and Grace Bayer and her husband Trey from Empire, they were at the Victoria Falls, and the whole of Zimbabwe Twitter went wild. We get so excited whenever anybody comes from across the seas, from America to Zimbabwe. We still have that sense of awe that is Zimbabwe important enough? But Victoria Falls is very important. I think every major tour agency has Victoria Falls as one of the options that they have, whether they're in Zimbabwe or not. South Africa markets Victoria Falls as if it's in South Africa. So we need to take ownership of that. I mean, it's our biggest crown jewel, and Vic Falls is fun. I mean, every time I go there, I have a good time. I'm still planning to do that Vic Falls Carnival, and I'm going to go with you.
No, we must do the carnival. It's really one of those important events of the year. I think everybody's always looking up for that year-end event that obviously crosses you over to the new year, and hoping that it will get bigger and better, and the organizers get to organize themselves even better as well.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think it's also important for Africans to know each other's countries, because when we're here in Seattle, I keep meeting a lot of Africans. There's a lot of East Africans here. And I've actually been to Ethiopia, and I meet a lot of Ethiopian like Uber drivers, taxi drivers. Whenever I mention that I've been to Addis, they get so happy. And it's just very rare to meet an African here in the US who's been to another African country. So until we value each other as tourism destinations, we're not going to get very far. And it's a lack of knowledge. I don't really know what there is in Guinea, for instance. And even though I've been in Nigeria, I've been to the major cities. I've been to Abuja, I've been to Lagos and Port Harcourt, the business centers. I've not been to the Calabar Festival. And Africa has at least 15 major music festivals, from the Timbuktu one in Mali all the way across to Bushfire and all the other ones.
Right. And what is the best way, though, of showcasing Africa? Given that as much as you've got a few countries, Debbie, that are promoting the return to the motherland, and you've got different organizations in the States also, especially in the Black community, that are calling for the return to the motherland. But they seem like there's really not much coordination, and there's really not much info that is being shared on how best we can build these bridges between the Africa and the United States.
Well, it's country by country. We have how many countries in Africa? 54. And each one is different. I mean, Kenya is really focused on tourism. They've been a major tourism destination for many, many years. And of course, Tanzania in a similar fashion. Ghana is focused in the sense that they actually have a government ministry for the diaspora. So for diaspora affairs. So if anybody should come say from the US and they say, look, I'm African American and I'm interested in maybe buying a house or whatever here, they make it easy. Some countries make it difficult. I mean, even a Zimbabwean cannot go and buy a home in Mozambique without jumping through a whole lot of hoops. And I'm not saying that people need to relocate, but it's just a matter of who makes it easy for you. Flights to Ghana are very cheap because Ghana makes it easy for them. Flights to Nigeria, which is next door, are more than double. So a lot cheaper to fly into Accra and then take a local flight into Nigeria and vice versa. So the airline access is a major part of it. South Africa is very well served with airlines. As we know, some countries not so much. So it's up to each government to push their tourism to make themselves attractive.
Is it the governments or it's us, the individuals, to sort of showcase, promote, and be the ambassadors of our own countries, though?
It starts with the governments with policies that make it easy for just like with airlines. They need cheap landing fees. They need a whole lot of infrastructure that only a government can provide, and removing those visa requirements. That's the next step in it. And then you get the major, the hotel groups, the hospitality groups, the tour groups, all the suppliers, all the destination management companies. If they're making money, and they are making money in Victoria Falls, for instance, they ignore the rest of Zimbabwe, but they will make the effort to build the hotels there where the money is.
Oh, okay. All right. And Davis, your thoughts in terms of how best to promote and showcase Africa to the rest of the world?
Actually, we've seen some pockets of progress beginning with the African Union. Unfortunately, the lady who was championing the efforts, as you know, Dr. Arikana Chihombori, she's no longer working with the African Union, but she started something which was very instrumental in bringing people together as far as, mobilizing the diaspora to challenge them, really, all of us, challenging all of us to work together, not just as people who come from Zambia or Zimbabwe or Malawi or South Africa, Senegal, whatever, but work together as the diaspora, because there's a little bit of knowledge that we get when we come here, because obviously we come here and we try to figure things out, and we find out, like in our own words, if you're trying to fight in a heavyweight fight, you cannot send people that are from middleweight or anything like that. So
yes,
so there's a reason why people are put in classes. They are put in classes because if you're a heavyweight, you fight the heavyweight. So my point to this is that if you go as Zimbabwe, for example, or South Africa to go and play on the world stage with the superpowers, it's not going to happen economically or in any shape or form you can think of, right? Whether it's economics or any avenue that you can pick, it's not gonna happen because you don't have the resources to compete on that stage. So, but Africa could come together as one, because we are a continent. Think about it. Most people don't know that just the size of Texas alone is bigger than most countries in Africa, right, Debbie? Just the physical landmass, right? So Africa as a continent is almost on the size of the United States. So that said, then we have to all work together and mobilize, work as one, and that's why we're working towards trying to eliminate the borders and stuff like that. Not necessarily virtually removing them, but creating access for people to move from South Africa all the way to Egypt without really going through issues that we've had over the years, and that is a solution. So clearly the African Union is working on that, but then the progress has to be passed on and information has to be passed on from one community to the next, from one country to the next, because that's where the issue is. We don't have the information that most people can leverage on and really, forge forward. So that's where it starts from. It's about people getting ready and getting the information, understand the economics, the reasons of the borders, why the borders were put in the first place as the colonizers came into the continent. We need to understand all that, the history of Africa as a whole. We need to understand that. Then we can move forward. Then we need people like Debbie to be marching forward. She volunteered.
Yeah, I volunteered to come up with products that really showcase Africa as it is. Most sort of travel agencies selling Africa now are doing safaris. They're doing the few major destinations. So, they put in the pyramids, and then people go to Kenya and do a safari, or they go to Tanzania and do a safari, and then they go to Victoria Falls and Cape Town, and that is it as far as Africa is concerned. But I think there is more to offer that we can do. We can do custom products. Say if there's a group of church people who want to go to Africa and meet and maybe volunteer, we can put them together with some major churches. Nigeria has great churches. Everybody's great churches, and they get the experience of doing that as well as their charity. I'm a member of Rotary, and my Rotary group here in Seattle has a malaria project called the Malaria Partners. So every year, a bunch of these guys go and from at their own cost, they volunteer, they collect medicines, and they hand the medicines out, mostly in East Africa. And it's always a challenge for them when they're traveling to get somebody who will put together the group and arrange the travel for them. And then you get the school trips. Business schools now are starting to do trips to Africa, and most universities here in the US, whether it's Columbia or NYU, has an African Studies department, and the students, will go to Africa for a couple of weeks and maybe look at how business is conducted over there. So that's another opportunity right there. And then there's other opportunities. I mean, there's a bachelor like you, Wildfire, who is still trying to find a wife. I can put together a group of lovely maidens who will come over to South Africa and check you out. And if things work out well, I'll be at a wedding. So there's all those, possibilities that we can do and fun things to do. There's places where you can go and have a good time in terms of dancing and music all over the continent. So depending on your interests, Africa has something to offer in that area. It's more than just safaris.
Yeah, and on the flip side of that, as Africans back home on the continent, we also have to participate in the branding of, our culture and even our resources. America does a beautiful job. Debbie, you know that they'll brand something and make it look so much that that's why you have everybody trying to come to the United States. And then when you come here, you think, oh man, did I make, was it the right choice? You know what I'm saying? Because what they show you on TV and what you really find when you're here, they're two different things. Don't get me wrong. America is a great place to be. Everybody wants to be here, right? And we are blessed to live here, all these years. But Africa also now more than ever before, we need to showcase our culture. For example, the chips that you have in Zimbabwe, those are beautiful traditions that we have that most people here who are curious about learning about the heritage of the African people, indigenous African people, they'll love stuff like that, right? The animals that we have, I was excited. I went to San Diego Zoo and they've done a great job of having animals from all over the world and actually mostly in Africa. And I saw the impalas from Zambia because, they put the name. And I was so excited. I'm like, why am I getting excited? I was excited, man. But you understand what I'm saying, right? Because you're here, you feel isolated. And in the same token, you can sell that product because there are certain animals that we have here in the United States, but they don't have them in Africa and vice versa.
Yeah. Speaking of the arts, Africa has so much going on, whether it's fashion, the music, the Ghanaian, Nigerian Afro beats, Nollywood. Everybody loves Nollywood. And a friend of mine is a nurse, and all the nurses in America are hooked on Nollywood movies because they're on night duty, and there's a lot of Nigerians and African nurses who work in the US, and they got everybody else into it. If you see a nurse here, they are obsessed with
Absolutely. And you can tell from even Afrobeats, music, Afrobeats, Fela Kuti was one of the pioneers of Afrobeat. We know that. But for all these years, people are not even in tune with what's been going on. And I've had the opportunity, obviously, to debut and all that, to film the BET Awards for the last few years. And something amazing happened, because not until 2 years ago, Africans and everybody from outside the United States, when somebody won an award, they used to give them the awards behind the curtain, and for me, filming that was just heartbreaking. Up until when Wizkid, decided not to receive the award behind scenes and he boycotted. The next year, guess what happened? Davido won and he was on stage, We brought the kids here, the ghetto kids from Uganda. Now you see them on the mainstream, TV dancing. And
Davido is coming here soon.
Yeah, shout out to Davido. He's going to be in Seattle soon. So
I'm going to the concert.
You can come and see.
Oh, awesome.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm filming that. So you should, hey, good stuff. But you see how we get excited, my brother. We get excited about anything.
I see. Look, at the end of the day, it's about building bridges between Africa and the United States, and how best do we get to showcase the best of what Africa has to offer. I'm excited because you're mentioning the likes of Davido, the likes of Wizkid. There's a whole lot of acts that are doing well in terms of promoting Africa through music, through film, through acting, through drama, poetry. Those are some of the things that Debbie, we can also look at on the show and bring some of these individuals, whether they are here in South Africa, like now we are on the show and we showcase this to the whole world. Thanks to technology, people don't need to fly tens of thousands of hours or miles just to showcase what they can do. This show can be that platform to showcase talent that Africa has to offer.
Absolutely. And even on the flip side, you also have a lot of Africans here who are super talented. We have a lot of artists that migrated from Africa that came to the United States. And they're trying to find the footage, and when I say footage, I mean like trying to settle down and create content of what can be appealing to the fans that they left back home. Because there's a twist. When you come here, it's a whole different ball game. It's a whole different ball game. So you almost have to start from the scratch. But we need to support those brothers and sisters who migrated also, who are just as talented, to sell the content and all the hardships and all the success back home to the motherland, so that people are, we all balance each other and we support each other. Because I think it's a two-way street. We're going to need to support the continent needs to support us as well. Not just looking up to the United States to say, they have better artists. Because guess what? Right now, I mean, look at the Breakfast Club. You can find anybody.
Yeah.
If you do well back home, you come here. That's why for me, I take Africa to be a priority. Anybody who comes from home and they have, some talent, or they're talking about something that's helping anybody back home, my doors are open. My doors are open. That's why about a couple months ago, Bobby Wine was here from Uganda. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Bobby Wine is running for, he was running for presidency.
Presidency, yeah. I think that's the most arrested guy in Africa at the moment.
Right. It's different for me because he's a personal friend, So, I was telling him when he was here, I'm like, man, it's going to be difficult. I'm going to have to be calling you Excellence, and he was just having a good time. But those relationships are the ones we build over time. And just Zimbabwe alone, I know folks like Prince Desire is from Zimbabwe. He lives right here in the United States. Very, very talented. But because he came here, so he's trying to find his footage, on how you're going to excel, giving back to back home and also progressing his life, here. So it's it can be challenging. So I think this is a great platform for both of you guys to create, and we're going to support it. So Debbie, good job.
Yeah, and
we got to congratulate you, Debbie.
Yeah.
Thank you. So one other thing we have to use as Africa in order to boost our tourism is pop culture. I mean, Black Panther was the biggest movie in Hollywood about a year or so ago. And rumor has it the Wakanda was based on the Kingdom of Great Zimbabwe in Zimbabwe. So we have the Zimbabwe ruins. By this point, we should be having Wakanda tours and everything to match, like, the movie with what our ancient history was and all that. Nobody knows that. And there's another Black Panther coming up soon. And those are wasted opportunities. I think our Minister of Culture and Tourism, whatever, should have had Hollywood tie-ins by now. Maybe we can have the premiere in Zimbabwe and get the outfits and everything to go with it. The merchandise should be coming from Africa at this point, where we can claim our history, because it's our culture that's being appropriated and being used by Hollywood. And if we don't stand in, step up now, we lose those opportunities to make a lot of money.
All right, I think you onto something there, Davis. You mentioned that we need to showcase history and understand the history of Africa before even colonizers or the so-called colonizers came through.
Yes,
and I think that is the idea of the 1873. I don't know if it came through to you. What 1873 stands for, or when you saw those numbers?
Yeah, it's the full background.
Oh, is it? Awesome. I'm glad you know. So you see, setting on that borderless mindset as the 1873, where we're saying, look, let's really celebrate Africa. I think also, Debbie, that is the reason why Banking on Africa's Future was created, so that individuals can be proud of Africa, showcase what Africa has to offer to the world, and be the ambassadors of Africa. And by so doing, we become bridge builders. Debbie, you are one of those bridge builders. I think I remember one time you were traveling by bus in the US, and you actually started chatting to some of the passengers, and they were happy to know that they were on an African so-called radio station. Like, oh, we live in Africa. That was pretty awesome, because we get to engage, get to interact, get to find out exactly what people think about Africa from the other side.
Exactly. And I welcome the opportunity you've given me. I mean, here I am in Seattle. I never thought we would continue our broadcast, and there we are. We're going on to the next level.
I'm excited, and also just to know more about Channel ATV.
Yes.
What is the idea behind the platform?
All right. Very good question. I migrated from Africa about 20 years ago. And so one of the things that I personally experienced was the isolation. Back home we have the support system. We come from extended families, and you have your neighbors, you have your immediate family, you have extended family members, and so information was passed on from one generation to the next. Then when you come to the United States, we don't have that structure.
Yeah.
I don't even know my neighbor. Do you know your neighbor, Debbie? Do you?
Yeah, I do.
Back home, at least, like if you run out of salt, you can just go to your neighbor, knock on the door, and here you get shot.
You might be mistaken for a trespasser.
Right. They have a right to shoot you, because you're trespassing, right?
Yeah.
So all that culture shock that we go through, I was looking for a way to storytell, my experiences and the things that I can bring to light in a positive way, Yeah. So, in a long story short, I came up with, we started with production. We started filming, different events. Like if, you mentioned the Davidos when they come and all these guys, so we wanted to learn from the Americans, how they do it. So we started with, the likes of the Sean Pauls and Beanie Man and all these guys, from the islands. And then we had the chance to work with Jagged Edge. And it's a long story. I don't want to bore you with a whole bunch of names of people we worked with. But that experience alone for me made me start, it changed my focus on how I look at life when it comes to how they produce events and how accurate they are. And now obviously working with the NFL, if a game starts at 12 o'clock, it's 12 o'clock. Back home, it's like sometimes, at least my time, certain things, I'm sure things are much better now, but, things like what Ekot was talking about, you go to a concert and you lose power. I can't fathom that. You know what I'm saying? But that's reality. But because I haven't been back home in a while, I'm excited to go back this year. And just to understand that, it's like you can't, right? Because by the time of it, nothing used to happen. Like power shedding, what is that? You see what I'm saying? Load shedding,
Load shedding, yes.
Right. So little things like that, it sounds cliche, right? But it's reality we're dealing with. My daughter is 15 years old. You know how old she was by the time she saw a live chicken? She was 12 years old. I had to, she had never seen a live chicken before.
I think it reminds me of my childhood when I was growing up.
Right.
I think the first time I actually saw a cow was at a trade fair.
Right.
That was the first time I saw a cow.
Exactly. So all those components, and I was like, wait a minute, there's something that's missing in the way I was raised, and so I founded this platform of we use technology to film different high exclusive events. We've been to the White House. We've been so blessed to get the support from the community to where we've done a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, there's nobody we haven't worked with, including the Beyoncés, the Rihannas, all these guys. So it's a great opportunity, to come from Africa, humble beginning, to be sitting here today and, have a lovely chat with my brother back home here and Debbie. It's an amazing experience. But I wanted to share that with the community.
I have to tell you, about 2 years ago, I was in the studio in Joburg with Wildfire when halfway through the broadcast, we had load shedding.
Oh my
So we
goodness.
had to stop for about 20 minutes until the power came back.
Yeah, you know how crazy that sounds? It sounds so crazy, but it's real life. So when you tell an American that, they cannot even begin to fathom that, you see? So, and Africa is in a position whereby now we can start looking for solutions, what can we do using technology? Because now technology is on our side. What can we do? And it takes a dialogue and experience, to visit and then figure out, okay, maybe you start bringing up different ideas. And believe me, we have a lot of brilliant minds that migrated from home, as much as we have minds that are brilliant back home as well. So if we all work together, that would be amazing.
Yeah, so when I worked in Nigeria, I worked under the UN umbrella, and initially I was put in a hotel, and there's certain hotels that are approved by the UN, and then I was put in an apartment building which had to have constant power, constant water, and so forth.
Right.
And I think in terms of traveling as a travel agent, I have to bring those skills to my business. There's no way I'm going to send somebody to Dakar, to Senegal, for instance, if I don't check that the hotel has all these utilities intact in place. And there's a way, if something happens, who is going to take care of these people, and make sure you notify either the embassy, whatever, that I have a team coming in at this time, and all these details. That's the thing you need to do with Africa. You've got to manage the experience. Even the transport, an airport transfer is a simple thing, but it can be a dangerous city, or it can be, so you make sure that your people are taken care of seamlessly from arrival to the time they leave, that you have constant escorts and make sure they're all taken care of. I mean, the last thing you need is to have your guests like kidnapped in Lagos or something.
Yeah, you don't want that.
Yeah, then they'll be on the news.
We should kidnap my brother when he comes to visit here. We should kidnap him.
Yeah.
But they'll miss him in Joburg. They want him to go back and continue providing the services he offers.
Oh, wildfire?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. Let's quickly take a breather. When we come back, we continue with our conversation.
Awesome.
To be a part of the conversation, call us now on Joburg 011-5684-270 or add us on Skype 1873 FM. Download our app on the Google Play Store and iOS. 1873 FM.
I've taken away your strength, Samson. Your little denite sparrow will nest alone.
I'm Philistine gutter rat. Throw your spears. What do you fear?
Wacha bila kung'ang'ana, lakini hawa wasichana vile nawapenda ni kama laana. So generation, I'm the storyteller. Nasikia walevi huotana pia, lakini kuna siri ndawaibia leo. See, I'm not addicted to alcohol. I'm not a victim, not at all. Yalimpata Samson, yakampata Solomon. Situation igeuka tricky, kila shimo na panda miti. Contribution kwa timafisi karura. Hey, situation igeuka tricky, kwa hivyo usiniweke kamba kwa shingo. Ngombe sigara, naweza wacha bila kung'ang'ana, lakini hawa vijana vile nawapenda kama ana.
Right, 7:45, yours and our time on the 1873 FM radio. as well as Channel ATV in the United States of Africa, of America. Yeah, the United States of Africa.
We come in there. We
I
need
guess
to have
old age
one.
is
I
getting
like the way it sounds, though. United States of Africa. That's how it should be.
The United States of Africa. That sounds
absolutely.
pretty cool. I actually miss Muammar Gaddafi. Eh?
All the guys we used to think they are crazy, they knew what they were talking about. Sometimes when you look at the footage from back in the day, like, this guy actually made sense. But we thought, it's amazing. Yeah.
Right. A quick shout out to Max Manika, Sabina Anesuruizi. They will say, after 21 years in England, I was on time for my meeting last week for the first time. I'm trying hard. African time is real. I don't know, Sabina, what African time is. Ask Debbie. 6:30. I was up already, and we managed to start on time as well. So we're good with time.
Almost, but 3 minutes late.
All right. Also, Kudzichirombo, good morning. How you doing? And everybody else that's watching on our social media platforms, good morning. How you doing? Thank you so much for joining us on a Sunday morning in Africa, and it's a Saturday evening in Seattle.
Yeah, we haven't even gone dancing yet.
Is it? So yesterday I actually was panicking because I came into the studio at 7 a.m. Because I thought it was Saturday. Meanwhile, it was Sunday in Africa and Saturday in the States. So I'm like, oh, okay. You guys are like 10 hours behind.
Yeah, man. When you look on the map, we are like at the very top corner of the left side. And but a couple of hours here from Seattle, you're into Canada. So we are on top of LA and Oregon, on that side. So we're as furthest as you can go on the other side. So China is much more closer to us than anything else, when you look at the globe.
And Seattle rains all the time. If I tell you every day, it rains every single day in winter.
But it's a beautiful place. Shout out to all our listeners in Seattle. Debbie's all depressed about the rain, but we love the rain. Get used to it. You move down here, so you get used to it. I want to definitely talk about a little bit of some of the things that most people back home might want to know about Seattle. This is where you find the Space Needle. Obviously, you see a lot of the shot of the Space Needle when you watch most movies. So when you come here, you can, definitely visit the Space Needle. Bruce Lee was buried here, so you can go and see his grave over there in Capitol Hill. He's buried next to Brendan Lee, his son. And a lot of folks who are talented came from Seattle. Malcolm lives here in Seattle. Jimi Hendrix used to live in Seattle. He died here in Seattle, so you can visit his grave. It's all more like a tourist attraction. So Seattle is a very, very beautiful place. It's a very peaceful place to live, and it's a techie place. Microsoft is here, obviously. The Boeing headquarters is here, so we see the planes like it's nothing.
Amazon.
Amazon is here. Starbucks is here too. All those, even T-Mobile, the phone company. So as you can hear, my brother, so there's a lot of opportunity for brothers in Africa. When you are in the United States, please visit. There's so much opportunity for us to grow and become like David.
I guess this is an opportunity to be in Seattle without even living in Africa. Maybe one of the shows, Debbie, you actually broadcast in some of these places that you're mentioning. Outside broadcasts get to take people on a tour of Seattle.
So one of the things that Channel A TV does is that they cover the football games, the NFL games, and the team is called the Seahawks.
Yeah, the Seattle Seahawks.
Seahawks.
So if you mention Sierra, they know Sierra and Russell Wilson.
Well, Russell Wilson is the quarterback, and he's married to Sierra, the singer. So they're probably the most well-known sort of Seattle residents, besides Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates.
It's a lot of pressure, man. You hear those names, so we don't rank on those lines of, because you have all the richest of the richest all live here, so it's kind of crazy, but it's it excites you. And so I can maybe do a football game with Davis. You could do that,
and I'll do my own African female commentary.
We just don't. I want to paint a picture for my brother. We just don't do stuff in Seattle. We do it across the country. We also cover the United Nations. So the United Nations happens twice a year in February, and then also in November. I think
New
November,
York.
New York. So we do that. The MTV Awards, you can cover that too. I'm
Ooh,
sure
okay.
he would like that. The BET Awards as well.
Okay.
He would love to get the coverage from there. So we do have the option to broadcast, using radio and podcasts. So we can connect with him. So you can interview like Ludacris and T.I. and all those guys live on the air. So we could do that.
Okay.
I was supposed to be at the Super Bowl.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm going. I don't know about you.
I feel the Super Bowl is one of those big events.
It's a major, one of the biggest, actually.
The biggest, yeah.
We've been fortunate to be going since 2014, and that's where every celebrity wants to be because it's the biggest. The commercials alone, if you watch TV, the commercials, 30-second commercials will cost you billions of dollars. Because
it's also one of those platforms where a lot of musicians die to be on.
Right.
I think is it Coffee? She's actually supposed to be performing at the Super Bowl, or she's done that already.
It's J-Lo this year.
It's J-Lo, and it's a lot of. Let me paint the picture a little bit. When you talk about Super Bowl, right? It starts literally tomorrow on Sunday, our time, right? Sunday tomorrow. From the media perspective, we have access to when the players are landing at the airport. So you have to go there, capture them landing. Different teams, they arrive at different times. So we have access to that. Then the security provided from the airport all the way to their hotels. So every day there are different activities that are happening, in the community. So when you watch football, really for me, what fascinates me is it's not just a game. It's what the players do in the community when it comes to, serving the community, how much money to uplift people that are in need and speak for marginalized communities and really do all these things. So that's what really fascinates me. So we cover a lot of that. But then it's, after doing that, then we cover also the entertainment side of things because they have the NFL honors on Saturday. That's like who in sports, right? So everybody's there. So you see a lot of celebrities through and through and through and through and through. So we don't even have enough time to cover everybody because there's too many celebrities at once. But you have to make sure that the quality of what you do is to the American standard before they give you the opportunity. So we had to learn the hard way, through mistakes and this and that. Thank God, by the grace of God, we're in a position where we can film some of that stuff and share the experiences with our communities because we always put our communities first so that our people can continue to see exclusive footage and things like that. So it's really exciting. And Debbie is a great addition to that because she's very passionate about what she does and promoting Africa, and which is what we care about, making sure that we tell our own stories. And so that's where we are.
And I'd like to give Africans who can afford it opportunities to come here, and I'll put together a package. Say there's a bunch of African executives who would like to go to the Super Bowl in the future. I can put together a whole package, including the travel, the hotels, and so forth. And then for the average family out there, I can do Disney trips to the US. I can do honeymoons. I can do all sorts of travel here. The biggest challenge I find for Africans to come to the US is visa issues. Now, I've worked in the past with embassies in Africa, whether they were European embassies or American embassies, where I gave visa support and assurances to allow people to get visas. I was like a magician in Lagos. I always got everybody South African visas, European visas, and so forth. And now I have the experience. I'll build that into my business. So it will be easier from now on for Africans to come here, or at least I'll put together a tour. If guys like golf, I can put together a golf tour so they can come here and play maybe some of the top golf courses and maybe bring one or two celebrities. Samuel L. Jackson loves golf, and there's people like that. If you have a person like that, or business leaders here in the US, you put them together in a golf tournament with visiting business leaders from Africa. Those are the opportunities that they get to interact and network and going forwards. So those are, there's interests, there's different interests. African students want to study in the US. No one does college tours coming from Africa to here. The average American high school student goes on a college tour. They look at different universities in the States, and then they finally decide, having seen them, if they like that school or not. African students usually are applying blind. they're applying to schools in the US that they've never seen. And it's always better. Maybe they'll like being in a big city or in a big college town like Boston, whatever. So those are the kind of things I'd like to put together. So it works both ways. I'll bring travelers from the US to Africa and vice versa from Africa to the US based on their interests and tailored accordingly.
I think that's a very noble initiative, and a lot of people would take an opportunity to actually travel, see places, and get to learn also. It's sort of a cultural exchange as well that you are pushing for. And congratulations on those ideas, Debbie. Let's see them to fruition.
Yes, I'm ready. I start booking my first clients next week. So the website is under construction and I'm getting trained. I'm working really hard. I've got all of you working hard on this project. No, I am. I learn in public. I have, I have a say in what I do.
Right.
I mean, here we are. You have us working, and we appreciate it, and we're glad to be part of this, and to see it grow as well as we continue on the journey of building those bridges through Africa Travel Show with Debbie, as well as Davis, and obviously Wildfire on the other side of the continent. Davis, your closing remarks?
Yeah, well, ladies first. Should I go first?
Go ahead, sir.
Okay. Well, I just want to thank you for the commitment to wake up early in the morning. Debbie wanted to do it at 6 o'clock your time, and she can tell you how adamant I was. And I was like, man, I know how it feels like to wake up in the morning. I can stay up late, but waking up too early is not my thing. So I had to defend, push it a little bit to 7 o'clock your time or something like that, but. Yeah, but definitely, shout out to everybody listening to your show. You're doing a fantastic job. Media plays a big role in branding what Africa really looks like. And we don't have to have somebody, tell our story about Africa, in a wrong version or in a wrong segment, if you will, because Africa is a place that is beautiful that all of us can get to enjoy. We have our share of problems, but definitely if we work together, we can go past that. And we have an opportunity. I look at life like every day I wake up in the morning, it's an opportunity for me to be great. I'm just a simple African guy who came to the United States. I had a dream like everybody else. And, I got lucky, but through hard work as well, we have the opportunity to where we can inspire masses. So it's a great opportunity, and I recommend you, Debbie, for making the initiative. And I was asking a whole bunch of questions on what she wanted to do, and she was just like, I don't want to know, so she doesn't want to do technology stuff, so, but so she's gonna have to go through the training with that too, so she doesn't, become so repulsive when it comes to that. But definitely, thank you so much for the opportunity, and we do have a small opportunity here. If any of you listening out there, you end up coming to the United States, definitely give us a call. We do have access to things that can help you probably inspire, your dreams and stuff like that. And in closing, I want to say, in March, there's something called the Global Beauty Awards. It's a award show that's going to be here in Seattle. And they have all the queens, like Miss USA, Miss, all that, right? And they do have queens coming from the Caribbean and, throughout the country. For the first time, I invited a few queens from Uganda, Ghana, and Malawi. So I didn't tell you that, Debbie. I forgot to mention it to you. You found out one day. So we're in the process of, inviting them. I wrote the letters for them to get the visas and stuff like that. They'll be here for 5 days. So they get the extra training from us when it comes to branding and social media and things like that. And then obviously community service. And then they'll return home right after 5 days. And so hopefully, I was going to forget that. So I actually interviewed Miss Planet International, who happens to be a South African, the reigning queen. She's actually from Joburg, so she came here to the studio and I interviewed her. So that's another opportunity. So if you're a queen from any pageant system out there and you're listening, get at me, and we can plug you into stuff that can enhance your platform, and we just keep going. If you have a talent in Africa, please come through. My brother, don't run away and come here, because I know you're talented. They need you back there, so you can come and visit.
I'm at home, and I
Yeah.
don't think I'm moving anytime soon.
No. We need that kind of talent to stay home, so we can all be inspired. So thank you so much, and Debbie, thank you for the opportunity. I'm gonna give it back to you.
You're welcome. Let's just say next time maybe I will do the broadcast in the morning in Seattle and in the evening in Joburg, so that Wildfire gets enough sleep, right? And always try on error and see which is the best time. There's a 10-hour time difference between Seattle and Johannesburg. So it was a real the trick to get us all at the same time so we can do this broadcast. So I'd like to thank Wildfire and the team at 1873, because you've always had your doors open for me anytime I needed media. Normally this kind of media costs a lot of money, and you've always welcomed me, and I've done so many broadcasts. I'm feeling confident, but normally I'm very nervous. I'm not a broadcaster, and there you are. You are always patient with me. And when I got to Seattle, I was surprised. I didn't think I would find any sort of similar welcome in Seattle. And I heard about Channel A TV, and I got David's number. And when I met him, he was again very welcoming. And here I am. I'm getting media, which would cost a lot of money, especially here in the US, a lot of money for media. But I have this opportunity. So I want to say I appreciate you both. And this is brilliant that we've managed to link up both stations. We've got a simultaneous broadcast, which everybody's listening to, and they're on our Facebook. So, and the audience, thank you so much for listening and for watching. Let me know what you think and the way we can move forward. I'll welcome all your advice, your questions. I'm available here. And I'm going to be working on pushing for tourism in Africa, because Africa relies too much on minerals and oil and things. So there's more money and diversity in the economy in tourism than anything else. So it's better if we make money instead of waiting for donor aid or remittances from family abroad. So this is a way where everybody is on an equal playing field. All communities can make money from tourism. So this is something that we need to all work on. I'm excited about it. It's the way forward. So in the future, you'll be seeing more of me, and stay listening.
Right. Thank you so much, Debbie. Thank you so much, Davis. We back with more of the Africa Travel Show, and as Debbie said, there's more exciting stuff that you can definitely look out for that will be showcasing via the 1873 FM as well as Channel A TV. All right. Otherwise, from myself, Wildfire, and the rest of the crew, it's a thank you, God bless, and Jag Guide continually. Until next time, you have yourselves a wonderful morning and a wonderful evening out in Seattle.
Thank you.
Good day.
Right.
Bye.
Bye.
We out.
Welcome to the 1873 Nerd Galaxy.
The whole music, the whole atmosphere.
You have to experience it to believe it.
It's just epic.
Activate your brain.
Американская фирма Transceptor Technology.
Status activated.
Affirmative.
Be ready to be stimulated.
Here we go again. Everything I Chris from them. Everything I bless from them. God bless.